Alexis Díaz provided the Cincinnati Reds with all of the evidence they need to send him down to Louisville for a very long time.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. My name is Jeff Carr, and I'm a lifelong Cincinnati Reds fan. I've been hosting this podcast. We're going on my 7th season now, and I'm glad that you're alongside me here today after this horrible day that was Wednesday for the Cincinnati Reds. We're going to be talking about that day, but quite frankly, we're going to focus on a few things because as terrible, horrible, no good, very bad as it was, not a whole lot of analysis to make, especially if the Reds can just get right and get to win today against Matthew Liberatore. And I'm going to tell you later on in today's show how the Reds can do that. They've got to be aggressive. That's the key. I'm worried about the Reds' strategy, though, when it comes to Austin Hays, because this is something that they have gotten wrong in recent history. I'll tell you about that here in a few moments. But I want to start with one of the awful pitching performances that we saw on Wednesday and why it should lead to a long stay in Louisville for Alexis Díaz. That's all coming up on today's episode that is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. All right, let's begin with Alexis Díaz because Wednesday was horrible. Honestly, there was two bad pitching performances. Chase Petty was one, and Alexis Díaz was the other. I don't begrudge that of Chase Petty, his major league debut, all of the adrenaline pumping, and then bam, first inning, 3-run homer, Willson Contreras hits it, and then in the third inning, everything goes wrong. Everybody hits every pitch that he throws plateward, and the game was pretty much over at that point. But I sort of figured, I didn't think he'd get killed like that. But I kind of figured that the night game, with him making his debut, was going to be the tough game to win. So the Reds needed to win the first game. And for most of that game, as annoying as the lineup was, and as few opportunities as they had on the base paths, it was 1-0 going into the top of the ninth. And Terry Francona decided to trust Alexis Díaz with this opportunity. And by the time the top of the ninth ended, the Reds were down 6-0. For me, that's the last that I want to see of Alexis Díaz for a long time. Everything about that performance was horrible. He had no clue where any of his pitches were going. And this is coming off of a recent performance in Miami where it wasn't so much, the pitching wasn't great for him in Miami, but he couldn't control the running game at all. Everybody on the Marlins stole against him. The first guy that he faced on Wednesday against the Cardinals was Willson Contreras, and he plunked him and put him on first base. Had it been anybody else on that roster, I'm sure they would have stolen second and third. But Willson Contreras is not a base stealer, so that wasn't going to happen. But I digress. That was not the problem. The problem was he had no clue where the pitches were going. He missed arm side a lot. That was something that Barry Larkin actually noted. He was like, if you watch all of these misses that he has, they're all going to his arm side, which means either he's hurt, A, or B, there's something mechanically wrong with how he is delivering the baseball, or C, all of the above. And quite frankly, I hope it's an injury, because we're talking about a dude that I used to be a huge fan of, but he completely drained that on Wednesday. He was so bad that I think he is so far gone at this point. He almost needs to go back to Louisville and relearn how to pitch. His fastball was everywhere. His slider was everywhere. And when they weren't completely outside the zone and absolutely just non-competitive pitches, they were hanging middle. And getting destroyed by Cardinals hitters. I haven't seen a relief pitcher blow up like that in a while. And I'm glad of it, but for it to be Alexis Díaz, man, we remember 2023. That wasn't that long ago. He was an all-star. He had 37 saves in 2023. He was good. In fact, he was so good that when rumors emerged in the offseason after that year that, oh, hey, maybe the Mets are looking to unite the brothers, bring Alexis Díaz to New York to pitch with Edwin Diaz, and it'll be awesome. And I was among the throng, and there were a decent amount of Reds fans that were like, you can't give up Alexis Díaz? Are you kidding me? He's way too valuable to this franchise. Uh-oh. Like, no longer. Nobody's looking to trade for him. And the other thing of this is, too, like, the Reds don't have to just outright cut him. He has options. So you can give him time to fix this. You can send him down to Louisville, see if he can fix this, and then maybe we see him next year. I don't think it's getting fixed this year. And that means, I mean, he's going to be 29 years old next year. So who knows? I don't think we're talking about a very likely outcome because, listen, everything that I've seen from him this season, and I get it, he's only tossed 6 games. But in the 6 games that I've watched him pitch, I don't know that there's anyone else that the Reds have put on that mound this year that I have felt worse about. He has been awful. There's not been an appearance that he's had that I'm like, you know what? Maybe he's turning a corner. You just kind of hoped he didn't give up runs because he gave up base runners, that's for sure. And I wonder, because we talked about it a little bit in the offseason, that it felt as though he was riding the ship in the second half of last season. But I wonder if he just got lucky. We talk about relief pitching as a fickle thing all the time. I mention this all the time. And his first 2 years of his career, man, I mean, he finished 5th in Rookie of the Year voting in 2022, a year that was horrible for the Reds. 2023, already mentioned it, All-Star, 37 saves. By the way, led the team in wins that year too, as nebulous as win-loss records for pitchers are. He had the most wins and the most saves for the Reds in 2023. You can argue he was the best pitcher on the team that year. But he certainly, pains me to say it, I think the argument now is he's the worst pitcher on the team. And I saw a report, and Hector Gomez was the first person to report this on Twitter, that the Reds were calling up Luis May, waiting for confirmation on that. Haven't seen confirmation from the team or from a beat writer close to the team. As of recording, that might have already happened Thursday morning. I'm recording this late Wednesday night. But if Luis May is getting called up, you've got to either be putting Alexis Díaz on the IL or just sending Alexis Díaz straight to Louisville. Don't pass go, don't collect $200. He's got to figure this out, though, because at one point he had it figured out. And that is what is so maddening about this entire situation. But I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him pitch another game this year. I don't. I feel like he's got to go down to Louisville and he's got to rebuild himself. This isn't just let's go see if you can, tweak the grip on a pitch or maybe, get a little bit more extension on your delivery. No. He's got to figure it out again. Because it ain't figured out right now when it comes to Alexis Díaz. Coming up next, the Reds are taking an awful risk with Austin Hayes. This had better work for so many reasons. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Trust me, I did this earlier with a PlayStation 5 controller where all you got to do is pair that controller to the Fire TV Stick 4K and make sure you have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, and boom, you can play all your favorite games like College Football 25, you can play Call of Duty Black Ops 6, you can even play what I love playing on my Fire TV Stick 4K is the Halo Master Chief Collection. That's right. You can watch all your favorite movies, all your favorite television shows on your Fire TV Stick 4K, and play all your favorite Xbox video games. One of my favorite things that I love to do with a Fire TV Stick is I take it with me on vacation. That way I turn the television into our hotel room, into my entertainment hub that I've got at home. Makes me feel right at home, even though I'm right by the beach, as much as I'd like to live by the beach. But I'm not complaining. Anyway, head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. Thank you for making Locked On Reds your first listen today and every day, and maybe even your second listen if you check out Tim Daniel on the postcast following the final out of every game. By the way, speaking of every, thank you to our everydayers out there. If you are an everydayer, I appreciate you so very much for being a part of the show each and every day. And if you're not an everydayer, hit that subscribe button. Become one here on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. All right, Terry Francona said the thing. He said a thing that David Bell has said. He said a thing that Brian Price has said. He said a thing that Dusty Baker said. Quite frankly, and it might not just be a Reds thing. So if it's not, then it's just a baseball thing that I don't like. But he said the thing about Austin Hayes could potentially miss the IL. He talked with Austin Hayes. Austin Hayes said he felt good. Austin Hayes had an MRI on his hamstring. The MRI showed some things. It wasn't negative. It didn't out and out say, yeah, he tore his hamstring. But there was something there. That's at least what Terry Francona told reporters before the doubleheader began on Wednesday. But they're not putting them on the IL. So here we go. Really hope this works out because it hasn't for a while for the Reds. Like, I think there's been a couple of guys that have missed the IL and everything's been okay. But for the most part, sure, they don't go on the IL right away. But then here in a few weeks or so, we see them hit the IL. It's just inevitable. Really hope I'm wrong with this, though, because Austin Hayes right now is the Reds team MVP. And I think that's kind of funny to say whenever a guy's only played 13 games. But consider this. In those 13 games, the Reds are 8-5. In those 13 games, the Reds average 7 runs a game. In games that Austin Hayes does not play, they're under 500 at 8-10, and they average 3.4 runs per game. Some of that's circumstantial. Some of that's small sample size. But to me, that shows his importance. Terry Francona has admitted his importance. Because with certain guys so far this season, if they've tweaked something, if they've come up a little bit limp in some cases or something like that, Terry Francona said, you know what? We're gonna treat this very cautiously. We're good right now. We need them to be their best in August, September, and hopefully October. That's not what he's saying about Austin Hayes. The quotes that he has about Austin Hayes is, we really miss him when he's not in the lineup. We're hopeful that we can keep him because he is super important to this team. He is saying things he did not say about Matt McLain. And I get it. Matt McLain's in the middle of a crazy slump. He did finally break a long 0-for streak in the second game of the doubleheader on Wednesday night, which was one of like the very few, the thinnest of silver lines you could possibly see on a day that was so bad. But hey, Matt McLain got a hit. So he's not 0 for the century for ever. But still, Terry Francona is telling us how important Austin Hayes is to this team. So I really hope that they're not gambling and they're going to lose this gamble horribly, because if you miss him for a little bit of time now and he gets the hamstring right and you avoid a long-term stint, that's better than playing with fire right now and getting burned, and then he has to miss multiple months. I mean, hamstring injuries in and of themselves give me a little bit of flashbacks to Ken Griffey Jr. when it seemed like he hurt his hamstring every other year in a Reds uniform. But Austin Hayes isn't Ken Griffey Jr., but so far this season, to this lineup, to this team, to this fielding alignment in the outfield, Austin Hayes has been the most important player. He has hit well individually. I mean, we know his stats. 365 batting average, 431 on base, 712 slugging percentage. Just ridiculous numbers. But it's been how good the team has been with him hitting fourth. The lineup just feels different. And we saw that on Wednesday. He didn't play in either game. And they scored 1 run. I have a hard time looking at this outfield without Austin Hayes. If Austin Hayes were to miss significant time, if this gamble backfires and he has to go on the IL for multiple months, consider this. Currently, as the outfield stands, Gavin Lux would need to play a lot more left field. And if you watched any of the horrible game action of the Reds in Game 2 of the Wednesday doubleheader, you saw Gavin Lux playing left field. You don't need me to tell you that the stats don't love him playing left field. I think he can be a left fielder when the Reds need him. But I don't know that the Reds need to look at this as, okay, Austin Hayes is out, Gavin Lux in pretty much every day. I like Gavin Lux playing on the infield and playing DH. Left field, emergency only. Break glass in case of emergency type deal, because it don't look great out there. But then, outside of Gavin Lux, you got Blake Dunn, Santiago Espinal. Jake Fraley's got to play a lot more. We've seen how well that's gone so far. He had a nice couple of days, but here recently, all of that goodwill has seemingly disappeared. The only guy that you feel great about in the outfield is TJ Friedl. And we're talking about a guy with a pretty checkered injury history. The Reds are one injury. So if Austin Hayes misses significant time, God forbid anything happens to TJ Friedl, because then you can make the argument that the Reds outfield is not a major league outfield. Because the best outfielder, at least on paper right now, for the Reds is Austin Hayes. And the second best outfielder on paper right now is TJ Friedl. And there's a big gap to the next guy. In fact, I don't know that I feel strongly enough to argue about any of the next guys as to who's the next best outfielder. And you'll notice, because I vehemently stood against this and stood up on a table and railed against this last year, I'm not fighting Santiago Espinal in the outfield anymore. That's because if you're going to take him out of the outfield, what's your next best option? Spencer Steer is not a good defensive outfielder. I think part of the reason that the Reds put him in left field was to get his bat in the lineup. But right now, they don't have a log jam at corner infield. Their corner infielders are pretty set, at least for the immediate future. Steer at first and Marte at third. There's really no argument there. I mean, Candelario's dealing with a back thing, and he hit the IL. That's the reason Tyler Callahan's up here. CES just got another injection into his back, so he's not close to returning. So the logjam on the corner infield is non-existent. Matt McLain's your everyday second baseman. Gavin Lux plays there when Matt McLain doesn't. And obviously Elly Cruz is your everyday shortstop. So it's all about the outfield. And if you take Austin Hayes out of there, man, it is not good. I did not think, and I thought he would be reasonably important. I didn't think he'd be irreplaceable. But he is. And the Reds are, boy, I cannot overstate this enough. They're playing with fire. I really hope they don't get burned. But in just a moment, the Reds have an opportunity here to split the series with the Cardinals, and I'll tell you what the Reds need to do to beat Matthew Liberatore. How many different apps or websites do you need to log into to check on your financial well-being? I got just one for you, a one-stop shop, if you will. That's monarchmoney.com. You can put all of your accounts under one umbrella on monarchmoney.com and monitor all of them. That way you're not just surviving financially, you're thriving. Monarch Money has a lot of great insights, and you can see the different trends and things like that on investments, but also you can make a spending budget very easily, and you can see how your personal spending trends work out. I mean, I didn't realize how much money I was spending at Taco Bell. Monarch Money helped me out with that one, and now I'm spending just a little bit less, But you need to check out Monarch Money today. It's going to help you grow your personal portfolio so much easier than trying to find all the different websites and all the different apps to track all your different accounts. Put it all in one place with Monarch Money, because you can take control of your finance with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcast app. We're seriously on all of them out there. Check us out today. Also, when you're done with today's show, make sure you check out Locked On MLB Game Night. They've got you covered every single game, every single day on Locked On MLB Game Night. I'm sure they'll probably make mention of the Cardinals Reds doubleheader debacle. Yeah. Anyway, let's see. And here's the thing too about that. Like, it's easy to overreact to a horrible day of baseball. The Reds played 18 innings of baseball and they scored one time. I saw some folks saying like, boy, the Reds are horrible at playing the Cardinals. They always get worked over by them. For the last 2 years, the Reds and the Cardinals have actually split the series for the last 2 years. They play 13 games apiece each year. They're 13-13. So it's not as if the Cardinals have the Reds number. They did on Wednesday. The Reds won on Monday. And if the Reds win today, then they go 2-2 in this series. And quite frankly, when a 4-game set, you would like to have seen the Reds win 3 out of 4. That's kind of what I expected. But I'm also not going to go insane if they split the series and win today. And the way that they do that, they got to beat Matthew Liberatore. Matthew Liberatore this season has actually been pretty good. Last season, the Cardinals were like, no, we need to put him in the bullpen. He's just not cutting it in the rotation. This season, not so much. He's pitched in 5 games. He has a 3.19 ERA. And he has a ridiculous strikeout to walk ratio because he doesn't walk people. He has a strikeout to walk ratio of 14 strikeouts for every walk. So it's not rocket science. You can't wait on Liberatore. This could be, Lord willing, Andrew Abbott pitches well. This could be a pretty fast game. If Andrew Abbott is on and his stuff is on, and if the Reds lineup isn't going as well as we want it to against Matthew Liberatore, it could be a really fast game because Liberatore likes to keep the ball on the ground. He's got a 48% ground ball rate, but he also just doesn't walk guys. So the Reds cannot go up to the plate expecting to see a lot of pitches. As much as that's kind of been their bread and butter, Liberatore is not going to just be all over the place. Unless they're fouling off a ton of pitches and they're forcing him to throw a ton of pitches, they're going to need to be aggressive at the plate. That's how they beat him today. They're going to have to put the bat on the ball. When they see a pitch that's close, don't even know that they have a lot of time to wait on their pitch because he's been so good with his command. You're probably not going to see a lot of beach balls come down toward the plate. And he's averaging over 6 innings a start. So you're talking about a Cardinals team that, yeah, the bullpen's actually been pretty saved. I mean, Ryan Helsley is fresh. Gordon Graceffo did them a huge favor by throwing the final 5 innings of Wednesday night's ball game. And Alexis Díaz did the Cardinals a huge favor by letting the Cardinals lineup blow the roof off the doors in the 9th inning. So they didn't have to use Ryan Helsley in game 1 of the doubleheader. So they're fresh, but if Liberatore gives them length, they're going to take it. So the Reds need to be aggressive at the plate. He gives up some pretty hard contact when he gives up contact. And that's what the Reds need to be focusing on is how do they hit the contact. I expect we'll see Gavin Lux in the lineup here. I wouldn't mind to see him hitting 4th. Like I kind of liked that they had Noelvi Marte in the 4th spot last night, but I would kind of like to see Gavin Lux hitting 4th behind Elly de la Cruz tonight or this afternoon. Game doesn't start too much further from when I'm posting this, but yeah, it's going to be tough because this lineup has not gone all day. Again, it feels like it's been like forever, but it's literally been one day. And they only scored 3 runs in the win on Monday. But they're coming off a very good weekend in Colorado where the bats went. And Liberatore has been solid this season, but he's not been like the best pitcher in the universe. He could get got. You just got to be aggressive at the plate. And that's going to be interesting because I think we have seen a much more passive Elly de la Cruz at the plate. We have seen a pretty aggressive Matt McLain. This could be an interesting game to see him get right. He got that hit last night. See if he can build on that against Liberatore. TJ Friedl, can he cause some chaos at the top of the lineup? Need to see a little bit more chaos. I mean, he's been good this year. Pretty consistent force at the top of the lineup, but it's all been pretty typical. Status quo. TJ Friedl, not Captain Chaos, TJ Friedl. So can he bring that back? And then, of course, with the horrid pitching performances that were Chase Petty and Alexis Díaz on Wednesday, let's just see Andrew Abbott keep a solid. Let's just see a quality start. That's all we need to see. But from the bat side, the Reds need to be aggressive because waiting on Matthew Liberatore to walk you or to throw a bad pitch right down the middle, it's just not happening. And hoping for a series split here because I feel like you win today if you're the Reds. If the Reds can get that dub, split the series, then they go into this weekend series against the Nationals with a little bit of gusto. Because this team, it's weird, and I want to kind of put a pin in this. It's not really something I want to dive into like specifically right now, but it feels like the last couple of years the Reds have not been a great home team. I mean, last year they were under 500 at home. They were 39-42. 2023, whenever all of the things were happening and everybody was getting caught up, and the month of June and most of July, it felt like they could do no wrong. The Reds were 38-43 at home. So it's been 2 years of this like core, Elly and Matt McLain and those guys, that they've been a losing team at home. Can they turn that around? Because, quite frankly, love to see him win. Love to see him win in person. And thanks to yesterday, they are officially under 500 at home. They win today, they'll be right back there. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, I feel like they can reset the bad vibes from Wednesday with a win today. And Tim Daniel will be all over that after today's game, the finale against the Cardinals, on the Reds postcast right here on the Locked On Reds YouTube page. And shortly after his show is done, it'll be on the audio feed as well. And we'll be back with you on Friday, breaking it all down and looking ahead to the Washington Nationals and hopefully talking about, I got a few ideas. I got a few ideas of talking about some players to celebrate, because it feels like here recently we've been talking about struggles and how guys can bounce back and how Alexis Díaz needs to go down to Louisville and we don't need to see him for the rest of the year. We're going to talk some good performances on Friday. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you subscribe and become an everydayer. Watch us, listen to us on all the platforms. And now that this show is ending, make sure you check out Locked On MLB Game Night, as they've got you covered every single day, every single game. That's on the Locked On MLB YouTube page and on the Locked On MLB audio feed. But until next time, you can trust that we will be Locked On Reds every single day.